Nashville. From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Sam Donaldson.
Good evening. Attorney General Edwin Meese came under increasing pressure today from Capitol Hill Republicans to step down in the wake of this week's resignations at the Justice Department. Senator Strom Thurmond, the ranking Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee, met with Meese this morning to convey the sentiment of other senior Republicans that Meese has become a major liability to the administration and to the GOP. But at the White House, there was word that the president is standing firm in his support of Meese. More on the story from Dennis Trout.
A hint of what was coming surfaced this morning in a Senate hearing when the name Edwin Meese was raised.
I will not countenance any corruption in any way, shape, or form in the Justice Department or any other department of this government.
2 hours later, Senator Thurmond met with the Attorney General at the Justice Department. Aides say Thurmond has been deeply troubled by the resignation of Deputy Attorney General Arnold Burns and by questions about Meese's ethics. While he did not directly ask Meese to step aside, the message was clear in a statement released to the public. Said Thurmond, quote, "A number of people on Capitol Hill have deep concerns over the problems at the Justice Department. I went to the Attorney General to convey those concerns." At a news conference later on another subject, Meese artfully avoided confirming the meeting, which already had taken place.
I don't have any meeting later today with Senator Thurmond.
Meese was besieged with questions about his future, but turned them all aside.
This question obviously is not on today's topic, so I'm only going to answer questions on this topic. All right, Pete, you know better than that. Come on.
On Capitol Hill, one Republican senator thinks the president himself should hear directly from William Weld, the criminal justice deputy who just resigned.
If he in fact said, as reported, that it's a close call, but he, Weld, would indict, and the president were to ascertain that, then I think the president might well have a different view.
While all this pressure is centered on Meese, it's aimed at the president, who continues backing his attorney general. Today in California, Reagan's daughter Maureen was asked if Meese should step down.
That's up to Mr. Meese, and that's up to the president. And I certainly think that that whatever is going to happen is happening at that level right now.
Whether or not there have been discussions, White House officials insist tonight that neither the president nor the attorney general will bow to the continuing pressure, and there's no resignation in sight. Dennis Trout, ABC News, Washington.
Meese's problems took a back seat at the Justice Department briefly today as the government announced an international drug bust that was carried out this morning, both in this country and in Italy. 69 drug traffickers were arrested in the United States, another 164 in Italy. It may have been the largest international drug bust ever. As Bill O'Reilly reports, the target was the Sicilian connection.
At 5 a.m., Michael Modica was led from his Queens, New York home by the FBI. As the day wore on, authorities arrested alleged cocaine and heroin traffickers in New York, Boston, L.A., Cleveland, Washington, San Juan, and Palermo, Italy. Many of the suspects are charged with operating a drug ring between Italy and the U.S. This case is different because, uncharacteristically, criminals in the United States were also smuggling drugs abroad.
Now, this is kind of an interesting wrinkle. The export of cocaine from the United States to Italy, where it would be exchanged for heroin that would then be smuggled back into the United States.
The situation evolved because of the glut of cocaine in some U.S. cities. Authorities say American criminals ship cocaine to Rome and Palermo. In payment, Italian gangsters send heroin to New York. The drug arrests continue a 4-year federal war on Italian organized crime figures. Leaders of the Genovese, Colombo, and Lucchese families are already in prison, their enterprises disrupted.
To the extent that there's a decrease in one group dealing in drugs, it leaves a vacuum, so other groups can have an opportunity to increase.
Into the vacuum, extremely violent drug-dealing groups like the Jamaican posses and the inner-city ghetto gangs. The posses alone are believed responsible for 800 homicides in the past 3 years. The Justice Department believes it has finally smashed the Sicilian connection. Now it is targeting its successors. Bill O'Reilly, ABC News, New York.
The Coast Guard is still trying to figure out who owns a fishing trawler that was found abandoned off Miami yesterday. On board were piles of plastic trash bags containing nearly 2 tons of cocaine, packed inside hundreds of cigarette cartons. It's the second biggest cocaine seizure in Coast Guard history. In a moment, the strike in Panama continues to disintegrate. And later in this broadcast, the Vietnamese people watching the war on the screen. And we'll see what happens when war breaks out in the gossip columns.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Pan.
Americans are eating healthier than ever, or so they think. Even healthy foods may not be as healthy cooked in oil, margarine, or butter. But all-natural Pan no-stick cooking spray adds only 1/10 the fat and calories of those things and keeps food light and delicious. The choice is yours. These or all-natural Pan, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
It tickles you so big, I tell you. It's... Ooh! I think it's going to tickle you so big, you're just going to...
My, what people are saying about Reuniti Blush. The taste that tickles you pink.
In North Carolina, Honda lawnmowers are assembled from the wheels up. Then the final critical step, the Clara Johnson test. If Clara pulls and it starts, it's a Honda.
Ship it.
In Panama today, General Manuel Noriega appeared to strengthen his hand against domestic strikers and those calling for his ouster. It's still a long way from business as usual, but as ABC's John Quinones reports, there was more and more business today.
Many more stores in Panama City unlocked their doors today. The opposition's general strike continues to wither. We want to pick up some cash, he says, to see if we can pay our employees.
They were closed for 12 days. The government didn't fall. Noriega didn't leave.
The Panamanian economy has received a boost with fresh funding from several American companies like Eastern Airlines and Texaco. They paid the government a total of $3 million in taxes. And today, General Noriega used that money to pay his military. The government has also announced it plans to reopen Panama's banks next week. Pro-government legislators like Lucho Gomez say Noriega has emerged victorious over the opposition. They gave up their patriotism, hoping that the U.S. would hand them a new government on a silver platter, he says. They were mistaken. The Civic Crusade has been in virtual hiding since the military raided their hotel headquarters Monday night. But privately, opposition leaders now say they feel defeated. Eric Del Valle, Panama's president in hiding, has not been heard from in a week. So for now, General Noriega appears to have won this round in his fight for political survival. But Panama still faces a critical cash shortage. And unless the general receives economic support, this victory could be temporary. John Quinones, ABC News, Panama City.
The Reagan administration sought to put more economic pressure on Noriega today by working out a plan which will allow U.S. companies doing business in Panama to withhold local taxes from Noriega and pay them into a special side account instead. It is economic pressure that the administration has been counting on to bring Noriega down. But Bob Zelnick, in tracing the evolution of this policy, says all the options for other action are still being considered.
February 26th, General Noriega clings to power despite the effort of President Del Valle to fire him. The U.S. continues to recognize Del Valle, whose supporters seek advice from this man, William Rogers, of the powerful Washington law firm Arnold & Porter. He successfully urges the State Department to hold back funds due under the Panama Canal Treaty, warns corporate debtors that money paid to the Noriega government is null and void, and sues in court to block Noriega's access to Panamanian funds.
When we were able to stop any transfers of the remaining deposits in the U.S. back to Panama, that was in essence the straw that broke the camel's back.
For a time it seems to work as chaos and an attempted coup grip Panama. March 18th, Noriega meets with U.S. emissaries to discuss his departure, but Noriega refuses to leave Panama. White House and Panamanian sources say he fears going abroad, having learned that Colombia's Medellin drug cartel wants to kill him. Noriega hits back against strikers and political opponents. Panamanian sources say he receives help from Cuban advisors on political and security matters. March 29th, this Tuesday, the National Security Council meets to review future steps. Among the options, tougher economic sanctions, a military or paramilitary move against Noriega, and backing for yet another Panamanian coup attempt. Most experts oppose further U.S. economic sanctions, saying they'll be counterproductive.
Washington decided to tighten the noose around Noriega's neck by starving the people of Panama, in a sense. And I'm not sure that isn't going to backfire on the U.S. someday.
Pentagon sources say they have thus far successfully resisted the military options, fearing a loss of life among Americans living in Panama or possible sabotage to the canal itself. But nearly all agree that a Noriega victory would undermine U.S. standing in the region.
In essence, what he's saying is that the United States is not willing to take the risk it has to take to preserve freedom and democracy.
While administration sources remain convinced that time is running against Noriega, no option to speed his departure, including the military option, has been ruled out. Bob Zelnick, ABC News, Washington.
The U.S. Senate has now approved the $48 million aid package that includes nearly $18 million for the U.S.-backed Nicaraguan Contras. A White House spokesman said President Reagan will sign the bill before he leaves on his Easter vacation tomorrow. On another issue, Congress is headed on a collision course with the president. Congressional negotiators voted today to impose trade sanctions against Toshiba of Japan for selling high-technology equipment to the Soviet Union. The president has threatened to veto the entire trade bill if those sanctions are included in the final measure. Secretary of State George Shultz is on his way to Rome tonight for a weekend stopover before proceeding on to the Middle East, where he'll try again to get support for his peace plan. In Israel today, the government announced the lifting of the restrictions tomorrow, which have kept the occupied territories sealed off for the past 3 days. But in doing so, Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir defiantly vowed not to lift the pressure on the Palestinians to cease their demonstrations. More on the story from Dean Reynolds.
Prime Minister Shamir today went to the occupied West Bank to dedicate a park at the site of a biblical fortress. With Jewish settlers as his hosts and reporters as their guests, Shamir had a blunt message for Palestinians who think the Jewish people have invaded their land. Calling them rioters, killers, and terrorists, Shamir said, quote, "They are like grasshoppers compared to us. Anybody who wants to damage this fortress, meaning Israel, will have his head smashed against its boulders and walls." Meantime, in another part of the West Bank, the Israeli army let cameras watch them contain some of the Palestinians protesting today. "Let us escalate the struggle against Israeli occupation," the sign reads, similar to the latest Palestinian resistance leaflet calling for more violent confrontations next week. Despite the tough words on both sides, Israel tonight, as scheduled, lifted the curfew on Gaza, promised to end closure of the West Bank tomorrow morning, and let the press back in. The measures didn't stop the Palestinian casualty count from going up, nor did they make the unrest die down. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
Iraq has declared a temporary ceasefire in its war of the cities with Iran. Temporary because the halt in bombing is to last only while the Turkish premier is visiting Iraq, 3 days beginning midnight tonight. In the Gulf, there's no such halt in the shooting. Today, the Iranians put another supertanker out of commission. Hillary Bowker has details.
The Cypriot supertanker burned out of control after it was attacked for more than an hour by an Iranian warship. The Haven suffered direct hits in its fuel tank and on the bridge. There were no injuries, but the crew had to abandon ship. As firefighting tugs circled trying to douse the flames, the unmanned supertanker ran at full speed for 20 miles before running aground. A captain from one of the tugs spoke to reporters on his ship's radio.
Yeah, very busy with firefighting. Quite a big fire, not just fire coming out from granite holes.
This was the 10th Iranian attack in 12 days, including a hit on a Danish tanker on Monday. The past 2 weeks have seen an escalation of the tanker war by both Iran and Iraq. But despite these losses, the lucrative business of transporting Gulf oil through perilous waters goes on. Hillary Bowker, ABC News.
When we come back, the Vietnam War on the screen in Vietnam.
You've suffered through all kinds of diets and regimens, but if you don't get enough protein when you're dieting to lose fat, you might lose muscle. Protein can help you keep muscle while you lose fat, and Special K has the highest level of dietary protein available in a cereal. So one reason for including the under 200 calories Special K breakfast in a balanced diet is rather obvious. Special K. Keep the muscle, lose the fat.
Hey, sounded good. Save a few bucks, get the same quality. Then the gripes start from data processing. I got garbage all over the orders. Pittsburgh now takes all night to download delivery schedules.
AT&T gives you the fastest, most error-free data transmission.
I'm paying 32 truckers to drink coffee. This is a good deal?
AT&T's worldwide intelligent network. Because we know it's not just long distance. it's your business on the line. AT&T, the right choice.
Till now, finding an answer wasn't easy. If you had a bladder control problem, like millions of women, you had to find your own solution, or maybe try something big and bulky. Now there's Serenity Regular Guards. Serenity's compact, yet it absorbs more where you need it most, more than even big undergarments. Serenity locks liquid into a gel that can't leak. The protection you've been searching for is here at last. Serenity from Johnson & Johnson.
The Pentagon announced today that Vietnam has agreed to turn over the remains of 27 missing U.S. military personnel next week, the largest such repatriation since the Vietnam War ended. But that would leave more than 2,300 Americans still missing in the Indochina conflict. That conflict came back to Vietnam recently in all its horror. Not on the ground, of course, but on the screen. And Ken Kashiwahara reports that veterans from both sides were deeply moved by what they saw.
After 13 years of peace in Vietnam, the American war is back in a movie already seen by more than 1 million people. The Vietnamese call it Trung Doi. The Americans know it as Platoon. In screening rooms, theaters, and homes, video cassettes of Platoon, dubbed into Vietnamese, portray painful reminders of the horrors of war in the place where it all happened. Predictably, scenes of American brutality against Vietnamese peasants provoke particularly strong reactions. At this showing, the setting is almost surreal. Former communist guerrillas watching a film about their former enemy, an American Vietnam veteran reliving his past with those he fought against.
To see the movie in Vietnam with a group of Vietnamese, many of them who obviously were fighting the side opposite that I was fighting on during the war, makes the movie more real and makes the scenes more real and the brutality more real.
The Vietnamese say they like the movie because it is realistic.
When seeing it, I still have the feeling of the world coming back to me again.
I feel sympathy for the American soldiers, this man says. The movie shows they were victims of the war. This old communist soldier says he feels no animosity toward the Americans. By portraying the brutality of war, he hopes perhaps there won't be another one. Platoon received rave reviews in all the major Vietnamese newspapers. My friends were in tears when they saw American soldiers dying, this writer said, and when they saw innocent Vietnamese women and children being killed. Vietnamese government officials say Platoon is not being used as anti-American propaganda, but to show the Vietnamese people how the war is being portrayed in America, and to help them understand why American veterans are coming back to Vietnam. Besides, said one official, Platoon is simply a good movie. Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam.
When we come back, tapping in on the unused workforce, the elderly.
Ford profiles in quality, dependability. For 7 years running, people who own Ford Motor Company cars and trucks have reported fewer problems on average than owners of any other vehicles designed and built in North America.
Our 81s through 87s all have had fewer reported problems.
Not just when they were new, but thousands of miles down the road.
With a quality record like that, whose car would you rather depend on? At Ford, quality is job one.
Uh-oh, here's trouble. This evergreen's turned sickly yellow. It could be dead before you know it. When evergreens around your home start looking yellow, they need special help fast. They need Miracid. Miracid provides special chelated iron, nutrients, and the soil acidifiers that all evergreens must have to grow strong and beautiful. Ordinary plant foods just feed. Miracid feeds, ironizes, acidifies for more beautiful evergreens.
Where does it hurt?
Here. For indigestion, heartburn, and gas, nobody does as much as Malox Plus. Dose for dose, it neutralizes more than any regular strength antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as Malox Plus.
Shopping can make you feel terrific when you find fabulous color, fit, and style. But when you also find the Made in the USA label, you feel even better. It's a great feeling.
Made in the USA.
Second-class phones, they're making second-class phones.
Hello.
Phones
4 by 12 o'clock. Blow your
phones with no tone.
Lots of people with telephones not made by AT&T are reporting some kind of complaint. When was the last time you had a complaint with an AT&T phone?
Second-class phones, they're making second-class.
Get the first-class phones of AT&T. You get what you pay for. AT&T, the right choice.
The Pulitzer Prizes were announced today, and the top award went to the Charlotte Observer, the newspaper which exposed the misuse of funds by TV evangelists Jim and Tammy Bakker. But the focus of attention this year was on the Fiction Prize, which went to Toni Morrison for her novel Beloved, the story of a former slave in post-Civil War Ohio. When Ms. Morrison didn't win 2 other major literary prizes, 48 prominent black writers signed a statement deploring her lack of recognition. Now she's won the big one. In tonight's Money Matters, the minimum wage and who works for it. Take a look at most fast food restaurants, supermarkets, or gas stations, and likely as not, you'll see a help wanted sign. There simply are not enough teenagers around to fill those low-paying service jobs. So as ABC's Charles Thomas reports, store managers are looking for help at the other end of the workforce.
64-year-old Rudy Ruzicka never thought he'd have a job bagging groceries. But the retired radio engineer loves it, even at $3.50 an hour.
Okay, I feel great. Granted, I have to admit, I am tired when I come home after 5 or 6 hours on my feet all that time.
Dolores Colombo was a gourmet chef for 39 years. She retired, felt lonely, then went back to work at not exactly a gourmet restaurant.
I love people. And if I don't have people to talk with, and I'm in trouble, so I like this place for that reason.
Retirees like Dolores and Rudy are becoming some of the most sought-after minimum wage workers. Businesses that usually hire teenagers for low-paying jobs are actively recruiting older adults.
We wouldn't do it if it didn't make good economic sense. It's good for us, good for the communities.
Hey, Bill, want to go fishing?
Nope, I'm going to work.
McDonald's features an old man behind the counter in one of its commercials. Because of the lower birth rate in the 1970s, there are fewer teenagers. And like most other fast food chains, the company needs older employees to make up for the dwindling teenage workforce.
There's been a decline in the youth labor force of about 2.5 million people. So all of a sudden, the employers who usually recruit from that pool have a much, much more difficult time finding people.
How are you? Can we help you?
Employers praise the older workers. They're experienced, dependable, and accept the low pay.
The money isn't great, but it's good money, I mean, for what you do.
For as long as teenage workers are in short supply, employers say they'll continue hiring senior citizens. They'll try to convince older Americans to give up retirement for what they call rehirement. Charles Thomas, ABC News, St. Louis.
In other Money Matters, on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrials gained about 10 points. The trading was slow. When we come back, gossip wars on the streets of Gotham.
It's that time again, deer season, when you can buy a John Deere lawnmower or tractor and get one of 12 other Deere products at no extra charge. Or you can take advantage of great cash discounts, saving you anywhere from $40 to $350. For the name of the participating dealer nearest you, look for this ad in the magazine section of your Sunday newspaper. But you better hurry, because deer season doesn't last. And with deals like these, the deer won't either.
I tell you, he's gotten goofy.
I like your dad.
Dad? He thinks he's my brother. Last night we were shooting hoops at 10 o'clock.
So?
Marty, this is the same man who never lifted his nose out of a newspaper. Now he listens to Z-Rock on the radio. Whose is this?
The right vitamin nutrition and a balanced diet helps people get more out of life. Some are finding Kellogg's Product 19, 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals.
I just wish he'd act his age, like your dad.
Feel like 19 again.
They can't do this to me. I have a company car, Italian office furniture, a family, and that printer delivers 4,000 misprinted invoices.
Why let a bad printing job ruin a perfectly good career? Take it to Pip.
I could lose my dental plan.
This Easter, you can send flowers in another green glass vase, or send something worth keeping. Teleflora's ceramic spring basket bouquet. Gorgeous flowers in a charming ceramic basket. To send one anywhere, just call your florist and say, Teleflora.
Tonight on Nightline, AIDS has set off a whole new debate over mercy killing. And in California, there's a move underway to put the issue on the ballot. That controversy tonight.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, goes the old saying. Well, whoever thought that up had never met a New York gossip columnist. There's a real Donnybrook raging just now between the reigning queen of New York gossip and a young male upstart. And as Richard Threlkeld reports, the fury being generated in this fight is of monumental proportion.
Truth is, it's not love or money that makes Manhattan go round, but gossip. And there's a press run full of it every day in the New York Post from New York's reigning godmother of gossip, Susie, and her columns full of where the who's who have been lately. Trouble is, Susie said that Amanda and Lou and Vartan and Cy and Joe were at this big bash at the Metropolitan Museum this month. That's Burton and Auchincloss and Gregorian and Newhouse and Pap to all us peasants. Except they weren't, and neither was Susie. She'd written it in advance from a press release and flown off for a fun-filled week in the Caribbean. The guy who snitched on her was her upstart competitor from Newsday, James Revson, who says he was just doing his job.
I didn't go after her. I mean, it wasn't something intentional that I went after her and I wanted to cut her down or anything like that.
When Susie got back and found out she'd been undone and who done it, was she ever steamed? She called him a liar and a rat. Rat Revson, 4 times.
I mean, do I look like a rat? I mean, do I look like a snake? And, I mean, a liar, well, that's just inaccurate.
She did confess she wasn't there, but as she observed, quote, I'm wonderful, but how can I go to 2,000 parties a year? And announced to all society matrons, henceforth, any place Rat Revson is, I will not be. Now, New York's glitterati have a real social dilemma.
Yes, I'm sure that the battle lines will be drawn acutely and people are going to have to choose between one or the other.
Will Mr. Revson be condemned to sit home alone? Will Susie have to actually start going to 2,000 parties every year? Only time will tell. Susie, who thinks this is all getting out of hand, declined to talk to us on camera. Without me, darling, she said to us, you have no story. Oh, yeah? Richard Threlkeld, ABC News, New York.
Well, that's our report on World News tonight. Tomorrow we'll have our Person of the Week. I'm Sam Donaldson. From everyone here at ABC News, good night.
From ABC, this has been World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Last week's Person of the Week made a personal mission of winning freedom for a Soviet family. Who will it be this week? Friday, watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Thursday.
Murdered by elevator.
Mystery only a genius could solve. Rogue. Then.
I brought along a friend.
Oh, my God.
Hotel. And
Welcome to dialysis.
for some, it's the quality of life.
Doesn't want to die in a hospital.
Buck James, after
Coming up on Channel 2 News at 6, the latest on a police officer shot during an afternoon bank robbery and the manhunt that followed.
And the inside story on a possible tax hike for Nashville homeowners. So stay with us for Channel 2 News.
I am Cobra. I have your power to kill broadleaf weeds and soybeans. Turn me loose and watch young broadleaves die fast. Teaweed, Sesbania, cockleburr, all die fast when I am in your field. I consistently kill your toughest weeds. And I am rainproof. I will help your soybeans yield their best. Put Cobra in your tank and you will have the power to strike fast and watch broadleaves die.